Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is The Mad Knives, a 5-album, 5-movie sci-fi concept project, and today we're doing a weekly journal entry. This is TMK017. Where are we? We are in album and movie 1 out of 5. Somewhere around halfway done, I would say. We are tracking vocals and almost done with that. So let's get into it. Show the logo, play the music. Okay, so what happened this week? Well, I got test tracks from the farmer and they were really good. So I exchanged some emails with him and we're having our first pre-production call tomorrow. And I'm hoping that he can get through these in maybe like 2 batches or so, like we had done with some of the original vocalists. The farmer appears on 8 of the 10 songs on the first album. So I'm hoping that this will only take maybe like 3 weeks, something like that. We'll see. That would be nice. Good vocal takes though on the test tracks, and I think really it'll be a good counterpoint to the other voices on the album, especially the pilot, which is where we're heading next. So the pilot is all done with his is all done with his actual tracks. All finished, and as promised, this week we're introducing the pilot. So the pilot is a guy named John Browne. Call him JB sometimes. And John actually is a friend of mine, so I just sort of met him through my personal network. He did a really, really good job. So I'm going to put all the links down below that you need to go find any of John's other stuff. And he has a lot of other stuff to listen to. Like, one of the things that made it easy for me to work with him is that he's like a very multi-talented dude. He's got albums out of his own. He's been at it for a while and he really understands the process. Like, it was very easy sending files back and forth and doing the actual tracking and talking about the music. That was all really easy to do with JB because he has a lot of experience making records. Also, delightfully, he understands the project really well. Like, he just got the concept right away and he stepped into the story kind of immediately. And actually, we started with him working on the farmer a little bit. And then as I heard some of his tracks for the farmer, it occurred to me that I think he would be a better fit for the pilot. And I switched him over to the pilot after he had already done some work on the farmer, and he was very cool about that as well. Like, that could have been potentially annoying to somebody else after they had already worked on one thing to switch them over to another thing, but he just rolled with it like a pro. Did a great job with the tracks. And the other thing I really liked about working with JB is that he sent me lots of takes, like lots of options for the actual tracks. And so as a result, when I get into editing in the next week or two, I'll get to choose from several options for the vocal takes for the pilot. I don't know why that was hard for me to say. So working with JB was very cool. If you are looking for somebody to work with for singing or working on an album, JB also mixes, so he may or may not be working on the mixing on this at some point. Very good person to have in my circle of friends. And if you're looking to hire somebody to do any of this kind of stuff, please reach out to JB in the links in the description below. Excellent dude overall, and really, really easy to work with. So that's the pilot, John Browne. Let's go to the next section of the weekly journal entry, feelings. Generally my favorite section, but things have been a little quiet on the feelings front over here lately. So it's been kind of a quiet week in the radio flyer. Sometimes that's what I call the studio here. Quiet week in the old radio flyer. Like, things are moving along things are happening. I'm not discouraged. Nothing bad is going on. It just was kind of a calm week. I did the normal stuff, pushed forward communications with the farmer. Really excited to start working with the farmer. That was actually the other thing that I had written down under feelings. Excited for the farmer for several reasons. It's nice to make progress in general, but also the farmer is the last vocalist that I need to track for this first album. So once the farmer is complete, the vocal tracking is all the way done, which leads us quickly out of the feeling sections into what's next, because I think that's actually more interesting for me right now. So vocal producing. Vocal producing the farmer, that is the next immediate thing to do. Shortly after that, and because of that, the next thing to do will be mixing. And I've been sort of mentioning this because it's almost time to think about it, but now I think we're on the doorstep of me actually doing some stuff. So what needs to happen is I need to get production notes written for mixing. So I need to go through and edit all the vocal tracks, like get the takes chosen and get everything clipped into place where I want it to be, and if I need to do comps or whatever. So I need to go through and edit all the vocal tracks, and I think that's going to lead me to doing like a new sort of board mix for myself, like something very basic. But I have to be careful not to get too wrapped up in that, because I don't want to be the one who's actually doing the final mix. I think that's beyond my area of expertise. But I do need to write a bunch of production notes that I can give to the person who's going to do the final mix. I have thoughts about what I want to happen in the arc of the album, because like there are things that go along with the story. So like the first 3 songs are on Earth. So I have in my head that like there will be an atmosphere for those, so reverbs can be more tolerable in the first 3 songs. But then once the ship actually blasts off into outer space, I would like more delays than reverbs to sort of mimic the idea that there's not really an atmosphere in the spaceship and there's not an atmosphere in outer space. And then I'm thinking about like, as the album goes by, there's a sense of claustrophobia and things kind of closing in gradually. And I want to do some things with the color grading in the movie that sort of express this. But I'm also thinking about if there's anything that can be done in the mixing and producing process to make this idea come through when you listen. So I have I have a lot of production notes to get through just to get them out of my head. And then there's also the conventional stuff, like finding other albums or bands that I would compare it to, so I can point the mixing person in the right direction. And simple stuff like, what do you want the snare drum to sound like? And that one question, for anybody who makes music, that one question, what do you want the snare drum to sound like? You can lose a year to that if you're not careful. So lots of things to think about there. The next thing to mention is that I just did the final deep dive story series video, and it's out now, so please go watch it. It's a very cool one. So previously I had done deep dive videos in the story series on each of the songs in the first album, and the point of it was to just talk through the story, what's actually going to happen in the movie and what's going on in the story. And then this very last one, I did a wrap up. It's the whole first album, the entire story of all 10 songs of the first album, all in one video. So that's what's out now, the final video from the story series, which means that next week I get to start working on the drum groove deep dives. So that's what will be happening next week. Lots of cool stuff on the horizon, some kind of changes on the channel. So check out the rest of the YouTube channel. There's really neat stuff going on. You can also look at the website for updates, themadknives.com, or you can catch me over on Instagram at themadknives. I think that's it for this week. Things are rolling again. I'm excited to have more news to report. But for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.